No, it says got it.
Okay. And I have somebody on this at WINTE, and welcome. And Marja is on here, and Charlene, and I hope everybody had no trouble getting on.
WINTER is Dolores Walden, Kansas.
Okay, well, welcome.
There's Judy from headquarters. Hi, Judy.
Oh, there she is.
I sneaked in.
You did, huh? So Bonnie, I sent you a letter.
Another Linda.
I'm gonna have to change my name.
You're gonna put both a Y and an I in it?
Oh, how about if I put just Lynn? I'll change it to Lynn Teeples.
There you go.
I don't know what Bonnie would think about that.
Well, who knows?
You've been looking for a new husband.
Hmm. Not at this point.
Yeah, I know she couldn't go through that training session again.
That's for sure.
She has this one broken in. Why would she want to start with training a new one?
I agree, Peggy, except once in a while they keep sending me
Yeah.
in my training. See where I let down.
By the way, before we get started, I just want to mention that next month's going to be on the second Wednesday, and I know that's a tough change, but I will not be available to do that one on the first. Actually, the first Wednesday is Wednesday, September 1st. So it's going to be September the 8th, and it's going to be Faye Spencer from Kansas, and she has got a wonderful, wonderful lesson done on Destination Oregon. She sent it to me several months ago, and artists told me I couldn't let her do it until after the conference. So anyway, there's some things in there I didn't know about Oregon that she's dug up, some facts and so forth. So most of you know me, I'm Scott, and I'm going to turn the time over to Peggy. As a matter of fact, if you want me to, Peggy, I could spotlight you and make you the #1 on the screen. Matter of fact, I might do that, and then they can see your quilts better. So everybody will still be around, but you'll be able to see Peggy. So I'm going to do a little spotlight on that. Time's yours, Peggy, and you tell me anything you need me to do.
Okay, sounds good. I haven't done this by Zoom before. I've done this presentation before, but just not on Zoom. So we'll see how it works. This one on the back that's hanging there now is one that is super, super simple. You can make it with lightweight jeans, or you can make it with the heavier weight, which the heavier weight I call the ones that typically men wear. the ones that women wear, the ones that children wear. Sometimes the ones the ones with elastic waist, those are not as heavy a weight denim. This here is sewn with all of the seams to the right side, and you can sew your seam as deep as you want. I sewed these about 3/8 inch deep. You can sew them a 1/2 inch deep if you want. And the more often you wash it, the more it frays. I've washed this one once since I made it. And so this is a 3/8 inch seam. And what I do is I sew that, and then I cut it almost to the stitching, and I just guess. And the reason that you clip it before you fray it is because this is how fabric frays. It doesn't fray even. So then you just take and just pick it, and you have to pick at each layer. And as you're washing it, those come out even more. This one here is 8-inch squares, and it's 5 by 8, I believe, 5 squares wide and 8 long. And I stitched around the outside edge because if you clip it, it will keep on fraying until where you've stitched it. Where you stitched it with the sewing machine, it will stop the fray. This here is a Cool Whip lid, and that is the thread pile that I got just from the outside edge. When I sew it together in rows, I clip it each row because, once you've stitched over it, and you can decide. I tried opening up, and I didn't like that, so I just put the seams down one direction and up the other direction. Makes it very lightweight, and you can see that the back then is very attractive also. Could be used as a baby blanket or whatever. Here's a closer view.
No, you don't want the baby blanket.
So Peggy, do you want them to ask questions as you go, if they have them, or comments?
Oh, that might be fine, because that's the only one I have to show that is frayed. I did make a different one out of a heavyweight jean, and I gave that to a friend that lives in New Zealand, so it was impossible to get it back to show it. But I really like doing that, because once you're done with all the clipping and the picking the threads out, it's done. You don't have to worry about tying it or anything else. So any questions on that technique?
Scott, Peggy, this is
Yes.
Wanda, and I can't see anything that you're talking about, so I don't know how to get to see what you're talking about. Try to put that in chat. But anyway, so I haven't been able to see anything you've said. Anything you've talking about. Just thought y'all know.
And you didn't see the blanket originally either?
Do you not have your camera on, Wanda?
When I first signed on, I saw it behind her face, but the only thing I've got on my screen now is just her name, and it says Kansas, and I don't see anything else, and I don't know what to do to see it. Just thought you should know.
Okay, Peggy, you didn't turn your camera off, did you?
No, I looked at that, and it's on.
Oh, a matter of fact, I can see it because I've got you spotlighted. So, let me go back and see what's going on here. Wanda,
Well,
did you see her originally?
When I first signed on, I did, Scott, but not
Okay.
now. Charlene, I think that's great. I just don't know how to get her to I can see her.
Yeah.
She said that even where I see Lavonda and your cover sheet, Peggy is just black for me. So,
Oh.
I mean, I see other people, I just can't see her. She's just blacked out.
It's interesting. I don't know what's going on. 'Cause
Maybe
her
you'll have to go out and come back in.
So Bonnie, can you see her?
Yes, yes, I can see everybody. I can't see Wanda anymore. So I don't know if she has turned off her camera, but I can see everybody and Peggy. Now I can see Wanda.
Okay.
And I still can't see Peggy. Sorry.
Yeah. How about Linda Nyseth? Can you see Peggy? Yeah, you're muted. Just give me
She's
a
nodding
thumbs
her
up.
head, yes.
Okay, yeah, so she can see her. So I think it's on your end there, Wanda. I don't know what's, I don't know what to tell you.
Why don't you try unspotlighting her and see if Wanda can see that point?
I did
Oh, okay.
on Spotlight her and she still couldn't see her.
Okay.
Maybe if she logs out and then logs back in, she may have reconnection.
Might be a good suggestion.
Welcome, Stephanie. There's a lot come on just since I haven't seen everybody. Good to see y'all.
Thanks.
Okay, why don't you, Wanda, can you still not see her? Okay, shake your head, yes or no? No, okay. I would probably just go out, I'd log out and then come back in and see if that'll work.
Okay, bye.
All right. Why don't you go ahead, Peggy?
Okay, one thing I wanted to mention before I got too far, it's really important to use a good quality thread when you're sewing these denim blankets, because as you know, these recycled jeans have already been used. Maybe the knees have worn out, maybe that's the reason for cutting out, or maybe they shrank in the wash, so to speak. But I recommend Metrazine or Gutermann thread because it's a good quality thread, and if you know them jeans are going to last forever, so you don't want your seams to wear out. And if you're having trouble with your needles breaking, then invest in some jean needles. You can buy those at I think at Hobby Lobby, but also any sewing or quilting store. They will have those jeans needles.
Peggy, on that Gutermann thread, was that Gutermann cotton or was that Gutermann rayon, or what kind of thread was that?
Polyester.
You know, I don't know that it says on there. I just know that when I went to a quilt class earlier in Hutchinson, they recommend, it says 100% polyester.
Okay. Thank you.
This is a Mettler Metrazine. Costs a little bit more than your other thread, but very well worth it. This blanket, a lot of times I will put my blocks vertical, but this time I decided to put them horizontal. So these are 6 inches wide and they are 8 inches long. And when quilters will tell you that you're supposed to press your seams to the side because that makes the seam stronger. But on these denim, I like to press them open, and sometimes I will zigzag the seam, which I did with this one. I had a spool of gold metallic thread, and I decided I'm going to try it. So try it on a sample first, but this is what it ended up looking like. I zigzag. Now the bottom from that knot is red, also a metallic thread, but you may have to adjust your tension. It makes the back side lay very, very flat, as you can see. Very, very flat, which helps it if you're going to tie it. Then I had some gold embroidery thread that I had for a counted cross stitch project, and I thought, well, I'll tie it with that. Tried it on this first, and oh my goodness, it was terrifically hard to pull through. So I ixnayed that idea and tied it together with just an ivory thread. Has a brown background. So it kind of all ties together. And this one isn't terribly, terribly large, but the tan color that's in between the denim blocks is yardage that was somebody donated to our church, and we've got hundreds of fabrics donated. And so I just used some of that yardage by the denim by the yard to do the tan blocks in between. Any questions on that? This is another one that I've done vertically or horizontally instead of vertically. The light colors out here at the ends, those are the same color as what's in the middle, except they are reversed. So it's the back side of the denim. When you are cutting up your jeans, if you have some that have a paint stain on them or any kind of a stain, and if the stain didn't go clear through, then you can go ahead and use them as a reverse block like that. So I would keep those separate though, you know, but they are usable. And then this one here, I did not top stitch the seams, but I did tie it, and I kind of laid it out to where I could know that my seams were open. And then tied it together with a pinkish colored thread so they show up pretty good. That one I put batting in it, a lightweight, a low loft batting. Normally I don't put batting in them, and that's why it has that puffy, wrinkly look to it, is because of the batting. So then when you fold it, you know, it'll end up with a crease. But I have a gray back, and you don't see any seams on the back at all because of the batting that's between the layers. This one here is typical way I do things. I cut my pieces as long as I can, and a lot of times I will take a pile, and I'll take my pieces of jeans and measure the narrowest point on the narrowest one so that I know how wide to cut the piece, and then the length I will usually cut them, and if I don't want to recut them, then I take my shortest piece. So right now, this is a pile that I have cut, and those are ready to lay out into a blanket. And they store so much easier than storing a whole bunch of jeans. So I recommend that you just go ahead and cut them up in pieces and then sew them together when you have time, if you don't have time right away. And the little pieces, I don't know, you see that at the bottom? You know, that's not very wide there, but it finished out that row. And those black, those were black jeans. And this is tied with black thread also. And I have a kind of a dark gray, charcoal gray on the back of it. So that last one I showed you is the only one that I have that has batting in it.
Peggy,
Yes,
this is Linda Nysa. Do you, when you tie it, or do you use embroidery thread, or what kind of thread are you using to tie
I
it?
use crochet thread.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure what weight because I don't crochet, but but I just look at it, and if it looks heavy enough, then I use it, and I use it double. So I put it in the needle and then use it double
Hello?
to tie.
Hmm.
You
Yes,
can
okay, thank
use
you.
embroidery. You
I-
can use embroidery
Yes, I
thread
did. I got on. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh-huh. This one I made for a friend of mine, and I've got a brown on the background, and I tied it with brown thread, and you can see the top one almost looks off, but you can see that the original seam, the flat felt seam of the jean, I left it on there, so I cut it on the side where the back side would have been a serge seam, and then just that saved me making some more seams. And the reason I don't connect this side with this side is because then you've got all this weight from the seams, in between. And so that's why I like to put a single strip in between them. And here too, you can see that I have some really long pieces. I sew them together with as much length as I can because it eliminates the weight. It seems like when I first started doing this, that everybody that made denim blankets, they were making them with 5-inch squares. Oh my goodness, those are so heavy because you've got all that weight in the seams. And so when I started making them, I just started using really, really long strips. I did zigzag the seam after I had pressed it. I zigzagged the seam on this one. And then I tied it with a multicolored, a variegated colored crochet thread, double. And it has a green background. So any more questions on that technique?
On your backings, are these like regular quilting cottons or are they a little bit heavier to match the weight of the denim?
It's a little bit heavier. My daughter had bought a whole bunch of bolts of fabric that was from a store that was going out of business, and she gave me the heavier ones. So they are the heavier ones. I think you could use a cotton probably if it was a good quality, but I also have used all darker colors because they don't show the stains as much.
So you're talking about a mid-weight then. I can't tell from the picture how you've bound the edges. Are you using like the pillowcase method where you sew around 3 sides and then turn it, or is that actually binding?
No, I make the back at least 1.5 inches bigger, and 2 inches is even better, bigger than the top of the blanket is. And then I lay a ruler next to the edge and mark. So it's about probably 1.5 inches. And I fold that edge to the edge of, I fold the edge of the blanket to the edge of the top. So I guess I should say I fold the edge of the backing to the edge of the top after it's cut, and then I fold it again. And then I just top stitch it.
Okay, thank you.
Does that show up? So
Yep,
that's the back.
Yep,
You can make those any width you want. Some people will make them a lot wider. This here ends up being, about 5/8 inch wide, 5/8 to 3/4. But if you like
And then
it wider, you could do 2 inches or whatever.
at the corners then, do you square fold them or do you kind of fold them in a miter?
Usually I square fold them. And then I sew, and square. I don't know if that shows very much.
Yep. Yep.
Sometimes I will sew, like if I'm sewing down this way, I'll sew here, sew to the corner, and then I'll come across diagonally. Whichever you prefer. The square corner like this, I think is a little more sturdy. You can also fold it and miter it too, just the way you fold it. But I find this the quickest and easiest.
Yep. That looks nice.
This one here, I've been sewing the last day or two, and I've made some boo-boos on it, but nobody knows your boo-boos if you don't point them out. So my boo-boos are this strip, and this is also denim by the yard, and the bias tape is orchid. And this strip was supposed to be between these two rows. When I sew a blanket together, I always number my rows, but I didn't on this one because I was in a hurry. And I thought, okay, then I paid for it. So I would have numbered it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that way, it doesn't matter which row you sew together. When you get ready to sew your vertical, I always do vertical rows. When you get ready to sew your vertical rows together, they're going to be in the order that you wanted them to be. So this one, another goof, this, the pockets were supposed to be to where a right-handed person would have it on the right. Well, they're not. They're on the left. So that was another goof on this one. So, but like I said, no, nobody would know it. I think it looks good. After I got it finished, I think it looks good. The part that was supposed to go where this one, since this was supposed to be here, this here then was supposed to be on the outside edge, but it's now the end instead. So, when you're using bias tape, it can be quite expensive. I prefer to use the lightweight jeans because when you're folding them backwards, you don't have so much thickness. If you do have trouble with thickness, you can buy one of these tools, which is great. It's called a Jean-a-ma-jig, Jean, Jean-a-ma-jig. And this little slot by where my finger is, you can put that on the back or the front of your presser foot, and then it allows your sewing machine to to sew, and you'll have even stitches instead of having, you know, really, really sloppy stitches. The nice thing about making them with bias tape is because they're more colorful, and also because when you're done, just like with that first one where the stitches were clipped, when you're done, you're done. But on these, you have to make sure that you don't use anything that has a stain on it, unless you just want the stain on it, because your back is going to be sometimes exposed too. So this light colored fabric here, you see, is dark color than on the back. Now the pockets, I don't know if I could have stitched double through that. That might have been kind of tricky, but it gives a new interest, you know, adding a different color to it. I'll show you the technique for this when I've showed you the last one. This one here was one of the first ones I made. It's 52 inches wide, 92 inches long, and it weighs 3.5 pounds. It is made with the regular heavyweight denim that like men's jeans would be from. This strip that's in the middle, there's a strip at both ends. I have another strip up there that you can see a little bit of, and then I have another length of this at the other. So it's quite long. It's 92 inches, but I think almost all the men in my family are over six feet tall. So when I give them a blanket, I like to make sure that it's long enough that if they've laid it on the grass in a park or somewhere, that they're going to be able to have their entire body on it. And so then that's the back. There is a close-up of the front. This one is mine personally that I kept for me. I like red. My favorite color is red. And this one here weighs 2.5 pounds, and it's 50 inches wide and 86 inches long. I keep it in my car all the time because it's great to use for covering up or wrapping hot food or cold food if you're coming back from the grocery store or if you're going to a family get together. And it also is great if you're at a ball game, like I gave everybody in my family has one except the granddaughter's new husband, but everybody else in the family has a blanket. And we were at a soccer game one time and it got cooler than expected. So we just went to the car and she had 2 of them in the car, and we covered up with them. So it didn't matter that we didn't have a sweater or a jacket along, we were still warm. You don't have to worry about grass getting on them, you know, because grass doesn't really stick to them like it does a regular blanket. And so my grandson saw this with the red and he just said, "That's too wild for me, Grandma." So he wanted one, and he wanted his to be blue, dark blue. So that's like this last one I had. So it's not nearly as loud, of course, as this one. And I was going through my drawers one day in my sewing room, and I discovered that I had a lot of old bias tape that my mom evidently had given me, or that I got from her stuff after she passed away. And so I decided, I think I'm going to make a blanket using those old bias tapes. So I didn't repeat a color except on the ends. When I put the bottom row and the top row on, then I repeated a color. This in the middle here is, oops. Guess I had those clothespins there for a reason. This one here is 45 inches wide and 71 inches long, and it weighs 1.5 pounds. So you can see that, if you're making them out of lightweight denim, it doesn't weigh very much and can still be a really nice size. The one with the stars and the sequins came from one of my niece's daughters. Those little sequins shine, and on the back side, they're glued on. On the back side is the stars do show. But I really like it because of all the different colors that are in it. So now the technique for making that is you take your bias tape, single fold, and I use the 1/2 inch, and you press one side of it open. When you sew these together, you put your wrong sides together because your bias tape will be on the top. So then you pin it like this. I usually start my ends with a pin this way, and then all the other pins, I put them in the groove. When I sew it together, you don't need to use steam to press it. All you need to do is have it open enough that you can see your groove. And I've stitched some here with a darker colored thread so you can see. And then that's how the pins would be. Then after you have it sewn, then you open it up. Well, first, before you open it up, you trim. Let's see, I have one of those. I had one of those. So this would be your seam, and your bias tape is here. So the part that is on the back side of your bias tape you want to trim that away. So there's where you stitched. On the other side, that gets rid of a lot of the bulk that you really don't want in there. Here's my sample. You can also, at that same time, you can trim off these frayed edges, and that will help also. Then after you've trimmed that away, then you open it up and you press your bias down. And then I reverse it, and I make sure the bias tape is down. And then I also press this down. That way you know that you're going to have a nice finish on your back side also. And then you pin it in place and top stitch. And I top stitch both edges. Because if you only top stitched one edge, you know, it would just not look finished. It makes a nice look on the back side then too. And on that orchid one that I showed you earlier that's not quite finished, I used the orchid thread in my bobbin and in my top. Most of the time when I've sewn them together, I've used a matching thread to my denim for the back side. But I thought, you know, I'm going to try that and see if I don't like that. And you can tell by this sample, you know, whether you would like to have the contrasting, or you can just try a sample and see what you would like the best. Then to bind the edge, I use a 1/2 inch double fold bias tape. So I use a 1/2 inch for these strips on the front, the flat fold, and then I use a 1/2 inch bias tape for the edge. And on this one, I used gray simply because the local store here in town had bought a whole bunch of double fold bias tape for their workers, I guess their family, to use for making scrubs, and they didn't have any flat fold to match it, but it was 40 cents a yard, so it cost me $2.80 with the tax to do the edge on this. Whereas that lavender one, I've bought 2 packages of the 1/2 fold, and each package was $2.99. So that one's costing me $6, and this one cost me less than $3. And it would have cost me less this week because they have notions for half price at Hobby Lobby. Any questions on that technique?
Well, Peggy, I know you can't read all of the comments as they're coming through, but you've got lots of great comments.
Thank you, Scott. So I would encourage you to try this. It's a great way to use leftover jeans. You can plan it, and if you don't have enough, you can label your rows or label your pieces and put it away in your closet until you get more. Some people go to garage sales to buy old jeans. I've just told all my family that I wanted to use to make denim blankets, and so my whole entire family started saving them to me. And now when my nieces and nephews' children get married, that's what they get for a wedding gift, is a denim blanket. And I always write a note in there: you can use this blanket as you want, but I would recommend you keep it in your car for any emergency, wrapping hot or cold food, or using in a park. So I think that concludes my presentation then.
Peggy, I missed at the very beginning how wide you said you cut your strips.
I cut them as wide as the narrowest part of the leg of the jean is. So you cut all your You cut all your seams off unless you want to use them. I did use a lot of them, the flat felt seam that was there. But if you're just doing strips, I cut them all into strips and then I measure each piece to find out which one is the narrowest because I want to be able to use all of them. So
Thank you.
I don't think I've ever gone smaller than 5 inches wide. The widest I've gone, I think, is 8 inches.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know. What do you guys think? Pretty good presentation, doesn't it?
Thought it was great. Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
Thank you, Peggy.
You're welcome.
Thank
Did it
you,
work
Peg.
okay on Zoom? Could you see it okay?
Great job.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
can
you.
See it.
Did you want to show that backpack yet that you talked about?
Oh, sure.
Let me go spotlight you here so give me a second, Linda, and then everybody can see, unless they're going in, there we go. Unless they go into the speaker view and then they can see it. There you go. Now you can show.
Now, all she did was just cut it off at the bottom and just folded it and made a seam. Put your garments on each side and up here. That's all. She didn't do anything else with it. It's just the very top of a pair of jeans.
So you could make a blanket and then you could use the top for one of
And
those.
you could put your blanket probably in this.
You probably
yeah.
could. You
Yeah.
probably could.
That's a good idea. You're using everything.
Yes.
I take the pockets off of mine, but I very rarely use them. I don't know. I guess I just like them plain. And I sometimes wonder if you're maybe going to put a remote control in one, or if you have a cold, you might put a handkerchief in one. But other than that, I don't know that. I'd probably put something important in there and then lose it when I'd pick it up to move. Plus it adds extra weight too.
Well, thank you, Peggy. I really enjoyed it, and I'm not a quilter, but I want you to, I'm a wrestling official, and there is a group of wrestling officials that have a whole quilters group, and you about have to be a wrestling official to be it. And they always brag about their how long their arms are on their quilting. They do the big arm quilting. So
Yes, long
it's kind
arm
of-
quilting.
yeah. So it's like who's got the longest arm
Yeah.
and what they can do. So has anybody else got any other questions for her or comments? If not, I would like to thank Peggy for a wonderful presentation. I think she was a little concerned about it, but I thought most of us could see pretty good. And I think Wanda did. I don't know what Wanda was hanging up there on her camera. But anyway, I think she said she finally could see. But
I did. I'll look forward to your recording so I can go back and see the part I missed.
okay, so
Okay.
Wanda, what did you do to fix it?
I went out and I came back in.
Okay. All right, that's great. A little reminder, and some of you have already heard this, next month in September, it will be the second Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday, September the 8th, and it's going to be Faye Spencer, and she's going to do one on Destination Oregon, because they're going to have the national conference there. And Wanda told me that, I mean, not Wanda, Artist told me I couldn't let her do it until after the national conference is over. So, and she has sent that to me a couple of months ago, and it is really, really good. So I'm also always looking for suggestions. So you can either give me suggestions now or you can email them to me. I'm also looking for someone to teach a lesson. I know that there's lots of you out there, and it's so easy that even us boys can do it. So, you know, it can't be too difficult.
14, not as many.
So, and I take care of everything. I take care of everything except the lesson. Right, Peggy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then I'm just gonna, and you guys, I'll just leave it on as long as somebody wants to chat. If you want to say hello to anybody or whatever you want to do, that's fine. And when everybody leaves, then I will shut it down. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Scott, for organizing this. And thank you
Sure.
for the invitation.
You're most welcome, and share it with your friends.
Will
Well,
do.
You can send the links to anybody, or if they want me to put them on my list, send me their email and I'll put them on there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Peggy, I thought some of your quilts looked like stained glass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, just when you first start showing, it's like, wow, that looks like, you know, she could call that the stained glass panel.
Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed making them, and I gave one to my grandson's fiance when she graduated from architecture school. And when she opened it, my granddaughter said, "Oh, now you're really a part of the family. You have a denim blanket from Grandma." So it's been fun. I've enjoyed making them. And, you know, when you've got, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And so by the time they and their children all give me jeans, I've made a lot of blankets.
I bet you have. Well, I did a baby blanket for each one of my kids and each one of my grandkids as they were born. I have to start doing something a little bit different for the great grands. I have a little great granddaughter that was born in May, and unfortunately with hand problems, I can't do the crocheting that I used to do. So
Yeah.
he wants to know, how many denim blankets did you make?
Well, I think I had 9 or 10 to show today, and I had 4 to start with. So I've made the others since I talked to Scott about doing this. I had the pieces all cut in my closet, so it wasn't a matter of having to cut the pieces. It was just a matter of taking the time to put them together, which I've procrastinated kind of, but you know, in the summer I have 21 acres to take care of by myself. So I don't have a lot of extra time, but I have, well, both of my children, I have 2 children, both of them have a blanket, their spouses have a blanket, their kids have a blanket. The great grandson doesn't have one yet, and the new husband of the granddaughter, he'll be getting one for Christmas. So they all have at least one. When I was at my daughter's the last time, she had one on the floor, and she said, "I need to talk to Julie because I think she left her blanket here." And I said, "No, don't you remember when you lived in Georgia, we were at a soccer game, or you were at a soccer game, and you got your 2 blankets out of the car and somebody stole one of them. So I said, I gave you that one to replace the one that was stolen." "Oh, yeah, I kind of do remember that now," she said, but she didn't even think it was hers because it was in her house instead of her car.
Well, I think you've done a marvelous thing. It's a good heirloom for your kids and grandkids, and now greats.
Yeah.
Peggy, can I ask,
Yes.
is that folded in half widthwise, or it's just a
This one
single?
that's behind me,
Yeah,
that one is the lengthwise that you're seeing. The width is that much wider.
okay. Thank you so much. This is great. And Scott and Bonnie, great conference. Thank y'all.
Thank you. And thank you, Linda. I enjoy doing it. So when are we going to get a lesson from Mississippi?
I gotta work on it.
Well, who gives your lessons down there?
Most, a few, maybe I can get a pharmacist to do something. He's a pharmacist on our board.
Okay, they don't have to be an FCE member.
No, he is. He and his wife and his mother.
Okay. And good morning to you, Ruth.
Good morning. I was a little bit late.
Well, I don't know. I don't call roll. I do try to write down who is here, and we did have 9. I counted 9 different states, and we might have more than that. I might have missed one. I have Oregon, Kansas, Tennessee, Hawaii, Kentucky, Virginia, Mississippi, Maryland, and West Virginia. And I don't know if I missed any others.
You missed Nebraska.
Oh, I got 10 now. Well, sometimes I don't know where people are from. You know, I see a name, but anyway, so I'm just looking for people to do a lesson. October is the next one coming up, and it's going to have to be on a Thursday because our conference is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So anyway, we had some wonderful lessons, great people, and Peggy is just another great one on the list there. So maybe I can get
Well, it
Marlene.
wasn't your typical lesson, so I didn't know if you were interested or not, but it's something I enjoy doing and I enjoy sharing.
And you did a very good job.
Thank you, Wanda.
Once Wanda could see you.
Yeah.
Yes. Y'all have a blessed week, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye, Kristen.
Thank you, Peggy.
Uh-huh, you're welcome.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Man. Hang on for a second, Peggy.
Okay.
I thought you did a really, really good job. And I think it really helped when I spotlighted it and brought it out. People can also, if they put it in speaker view, it'll make it big like that too.
Yes.
But I
I was
thought,
hoping that they would do that, put it in speaker view, but with you highlighting that made it possible for all of
Right.
them to see it.
and your audio was really good. Even when you're standing back a ways, we could hear you. So,
Okay. Yeah,
it was-
we didn't check that out before. I had wondered about that.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I sure appreciate you doing it. I think that was a really good lesson.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, did you teach a lesson in nationals on quilting or something? It was a leadership thing. And I'll tell you, I got blew out of the water because I didn't know most of the terms.
Yes, it was it was an FCL.
Right. Well, I remember those things.
Yeah, you
I'll bet
did.
I probably still have the handouts for it because Bonnie, I never throw anything away.
Left an impression on you somehow, huh?
It did. Well, and I'm always looking for things like that to, it's kind of patchwork on how you put things together, not only just quilts, but in life. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna let you
Well-
go. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you'll be able to get on here again.
Yeah, look forward to it. And I guess you'll send out the recording.
I will. I'll do that. And I had several people commented, as I go along, and it was just really good. It says thanks for the great presentation, and then they asked me about recordings and just comments, good comments as they went along. Nobody had so many those that had questions to ask you. So,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Hey, pat yourself on the back. When's the first time you went on Zoom?
Oh, I did it with a friend on his phone a couple of times and you couldn't hardly see anything. But the first time on my computer was
Yeah.
probably with the board.
All right. So see how far you've come?
Yeah,
Come a long
right.
ways.
Getting a
And-
lot more comfortable with it.
Well, so am I. And I was nervous as heck on that national conference. I was afraid something would go wrong. And earlier that week, we lost our whole cable system, internet, TV, everything for about
Yeah.
6 hours. So I don't know. Well, I had an alternate plan. So,
That's good.
all right. All right, thanks.
Okay.
All right,
See
thanks,
ya.
Peggy. Bye.
Bye.